Welcome.
We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
This is your number one podcast for ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties. Bringing you everything you need to know about things that go bump in the night and interviewing the personalities behind them. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Now, here are your hosts, your ghost hosts, Scott and Julie.
Hello, friends. I am so glad to be back with you. So I know it's been a couple of weeks. Our show 2 weeks ago with David Coffey was pre-recorded. So I'm really glad to be here and to see, well, actually, I don't really see you because you see me, but I'm glad to be here. Let's put it that way. We have a really fun show for you today. And I want to talk to you, before I talk to you about that, I want to let you know something really, really cool. So some of you know that I traveled with Andrea Perrin to Scotland in July of this year, and I was lucky enough to do a gallery event at this haunted castle, the Earth Castle, and it was run by Mysterious Adventures Tours. Mysterious Adventures Tours runs really haunted, mystical tours all over the world. She's going to Egypt with Dave Schrader. She's going to Italy with Sherry Di Benedetti. She's going to Haunted Savannah and France with Shane Pittman and lots more. So for the month of December, she's running a special. If you book a tour this month, you get a free 30-minute mediumship reading with me. So is that an incentive to take a trip? Probably not. But I think if you are going to take a trip, this is a great time to do it. And then we'll get to spend 30 minutes together. And I would love to do a reading for you. So all you have to do if you want to sign up for your trip is go to Mysterious Adventures Tours. That's all plural, mysteriousAdventurestours.com. And the nice thing is she's got trips all over the place, and you don't even have to pay for the whole thing. It's no interest payments, and she'll spread them out for you, and it's all done right through the site. And you'll go around the world and investigate some of the most haunted places. So if it's something you want to do, sign up. It's great for Christmas, mysteriousAdventurestours.com, and get a free reading with me. Now, let me tell you a little bit about our guests. I had an opportunity to go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, in November. So it was just, several weeks ago. And this mansion is called the Bell Mansion. The Bell Mansion is a haunted mansion that was a funeral home. And I didn't know what to expect. I was there with Sherry Di Benedetti and Jason Haas and Cody Desbian and Satori Haas. And I met this group of people who run the mansion. And two of them are here with us tonight. And I think you are going to love them. And I know that I did. I just feel like I connected with so many of them on a personal level. And I just cannot wait to be able to go back and see them again. So without further ado, let's welcome them to the show, Nick and Angie from Fort Wayne, Indiana. There you are, guys. How you doing?
Hi. Good.
Hello. Good.
Thank you
Good.
so much for having us.
Yes,
We're
thank
excited.
you so much.
I am really excited you're here. And I had written this when we talked about, what we talked about the mansion. And I said, it really is, I think, the next big thing. Everybody's looking for another place to go and investigate, but your place is so unique. Because of the type of building, what it was used for, and it's haunted. So tell me about that. I know that it closed in 2018. The funeral home closed. It was empty for a couple of years, and then your dad was going to buy it, Angie. Is that right?
Yes. So first off, thank you guys. We're so passionate about preserving this place and sharing it with the world. And it's one of those gorgeous historic buildings. You walk in and I swear it's magical. it's got a lot going on. It's a gorgeous place. You walk in the front door, you'd have no idea it was a funeral home for 93 years.
Right. It's not a place of sadness.
No,
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 not at
no,
all.
Not at
no,
all.
no. It's just hard to explain. I don't even know. How do you explain that, love?
Oof. It's a 15,000 square foot magical, fully historic building. This isn't a location where you're going to go to and wonder, is the ceiling going to fall on you? You're going to fall through the steps or the floor. Is there, you're not wondering where you're going to go to the bathroom, or if you're going to freeze to death or sweat to death. I mean, this is a fully functional historic building. It what it's going to be built for mainly is event center. On top of the paranormal, this is one of the most unique haunted locations that you will ever investigate across the globe, to be honest with you. It's just the spirits that inhabit this location are some of the most friendly, most interactive spirits that you will ever encounter. There's never any negligence or negativity towards people. If you truly understand the paranormal and investigating, you understand that things do happen. You will get touched, your hair will get pulled. Sometimes it does create a scratch or something like that. But I can guarantee you, for me personally, being there for 2 years investigating, that even if something like that happened, it's not at being mischievous. It's not out of that. It's more like a hey, I'm right here type of thing. We haven't had too many people, we've had some people have been touched and hair pulled, but maybe one or two has ever been like scratched or anything like that. But we don't allow negativity there. We don't allow negativity from humans that are alive or the spiritual realm. We don't allow it. So if you come in the building with a negative attitude, like go outside, change your attitude, come back inside. I mean, it's the same with the spirits. Like, hey, if you're gonna start acting like this, then we're gonna give you the boot, because
And I can tell you, I mean, just from your group, you have like the nicest group of people.
They are.
I mean, truly, and I mean this. I'm not just saying this because we're on this show. You welcomed us in like we had been friends of yours forever. And I feel like it is truly a great group of people to want to spend time with and investigate or just hang out. I mean, just a nice group of people.
We're truly family. We really are.
Yeah,
We
you said
treat
that.
everyone
You said
like
that, and it's
family,
true.
and it is. We're super blessed. We want everyone to become the best version of themselves, because that's just the happiest for everybody,
Right.
and treat people how you want to be treated. And we love the Bell. It's just a good, positive place to
And
be.
that I'll be completely honest with you, that all streams from Angie. She is truly one of the nicest people you'll ever meet,
No, I'm just kidding.
unless we get home by ourselves and then she unleashes
Oh,
fury on me. But no, seriously, not it. The extension of the staff that we have at the Bell Mansion, that, I mean, nobody gets paid. They want to be there. They want to help. They want to learn. They want to help anybody that comes in the door. That's an extension of Angie right here. That is her personality. That's who she is, and that's why she's loved by so many people. Now, me on the other hand, most days I'm the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Some days I get grumpy. It just is what it is. I'm a dude. But no, it's just
all of us.
all of us. Yeah,
It's all of us. It takes a tribe.
It took a while to, not to be mean or rude, but to pick and choose the right people to have in the circle to become, that prototypical family. We've had some people that we brought along that just didn't work out, and things happen, but you kind of weed through it. And once you get that core group of people that are just as passionate as we are, then it works and it's magical.
I think you're there, and it really is just a sensational place. So I have a question. And Ricky, who works with you, had told me that they had just torn a hospital down at some point near the mansion. Do you feel like the activity has increased since then? Have you noticed any kind of a difference?
Yes. The activity, I mean, activity is always there. It's always very active at our location. I mean, I would be, I coming from sports, I would bet, you know, $10,000 type of thing that if you come to our building, for an evening, you book a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. that I guarantee you're going to get some type of activity. You're going to get some type of evidence. We're that confident in that. But the uptick on activity lately, it has ramped up a little bit. I mean, St. Joe Hospital got tore down. It was originally built, the main part, in the 1850s. There's a lot of history, a lot of sadness, a lot of death. Me being in the flooring industry for so long, I had the opportunity to actually work inside St. Joe Hospital doing some construction work.
Oh, no kidding.
It takes on a different light or a different being when you're walking down these massive corridors at night, or you're in the basement, the cafeteria, or hell, I was a couple times I was in the morgue. It was just an god awful eerie feeling in it. But I understand business and I understand why they tore it down, and but yeah, uptick lately. We're getting a lot more new names. The basement has taken on a different light at the Bell Mansion, and we're monitoring it closely because, again, we don't want anything negative in the house. So I don't think it's like a drastic change, but you can definitely tell. If you're empathic or sensitive in that way, like you've been in the building a lot, you walk into certain rooms and you're like, oh, okay, this is a different.
You can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to tell you about something that happened when I was there, which was really interesting. And I don't know if you've experienced this before. I think we were walking from the front entry into the main room, which was the viewing room at one time. And I said to Ricky, because he was with me, I said, we heard footsteps upstairs, whatever. I said, but I don't really feel anything down in the basement. I like down that hall. I don't really he says, yeah, we really don't get anything. And the light turned off.
Yes.
And I said, is somebody down the bottom of those stairs? And he looked, to see if I don't know if there's a light switch down there, but he went down and he looked, there was nobody down there. And he came back up and he flicked the light switch back up and the light came on. So the switch actually shut off, which is really interesting. And he said, we never get anything down there. I'm like, well, I think they heard us talk and probably said, you think, right?
Here, what are you talking about?
Oh, you don't think I'm here? Let me show you.
You don't think I'm here? Let me show you. But, I was thinking about this too, because I think I told you, I was a funeral director for years. When you're in a place like that and it's haunted and you're running a funeral home, you're not trying to ramp that up. You're not investigating it. You're kind of pushing it down. And so if there are spirits there, nobody's communicating with them. They're really not. I don't believe, at least this is my feeling. I don't know. You may have a different feeling. I don't think they're spirits of people whose funerals were held there. I think it's funerals. I think it's other people, other spirits that are coming through. I think people who had funerals there are probably, if they're haunting, they're with places where their loved ones are and families and that kind of thing, would be my thought. But you're making this a place of light, a place of happiness, a place where people gather, for events, could be weddings, could be whatever. And you recognize that there are entities there and you accept them as part of the building. And so, you've got your group who is nice as can be, and they're interacting and they're, recording and they're talking. And all of a sudden they're responding because, hey, these people know we're here. So it kind of, I think, accelerates it just a little bit and kind of ramps up the activity. Which, I mean, that's my own take on it. I don't know.
No, you're pretty much spot on, to be honest with you. So, what's unique about this location? Obviously, it's a mansion. It's not like your prototypical funeral home. But the first 30 years of this building's existence, or 37 years or whatnot, it was an actual residence. It was built to be a home. So it wasn't until 1926 where the Klaehn family bought it and they turned a residential home into a functional funeral home.
Mhm.
There's a lot to do with activity, prior to the funeral home days there. I don't feel like, there's a lot of spirits in some weird places that we kind of scratch our head. We're like, why would they be in here? Why would they still be here? But you're right. 98% of the people or the spirits that are in the Bell Mansion has nothing to do with their funerals being there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's just a coincidence. I would agree with you. In fact, which another, you talk about places where you wouldn't expect people. The yoga studio, like what
Mhm.
was that? Why would they be there? Why, you know what I mean? You would think they would be in the residence section. The only
Listen,
thing I could think of, and I don't know how you feel about this, I thought
Mhm.
that because they built that addition, that was an addition. That wasn't part of the original
Mhm.
mansion. And I wondered if that particular part of the house was originally something else. Like there was another house there, another building, another something at one time. And whatever is connected to that land and not
Yeah.
necessarily the Bell Mansion, which is why it's so different.
That
That was
could
just
be
my
true.
thought when I was there. I
Yeah.
don't,
yeah, I mean, I could shed some light on,
yeah.
as far as the staff goes, I've got the most of the history knowledge and
Oh, yeah.
everything. But so on the west end of the building where they added on in 1935, which would
Mhm,
have been the big viewing room, the second floor ballroom,
mhm.
which was the yoga studio, and the embalming room. Um,
Hey,
that
Luke. Lukey.
There he
that
is, Cindy.
so when they built the mansion, the original part of the house, and where the west end sits now,
Yeah.
before that was a massive rose garden.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
They had a big cobblestone well in there. Now, down in our nerve center room, if we was to actually tear up that floor, we could probably still get to that well because that's where it was.
Wow.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, it's we kind of come to the conclusion the reason why the ballrooms are so active has a lot to do with the child spirits in the house. They like to go in these big rooms and run around like kids,
Mhm.
Yep.
to be honest with you. Because other
Squirrel, but
well,
I have this just remembered I remembered a story. So typically we have about 3 or 4 kid spirits, and they run in circles. It's in
mhm,
like you can put not that I can physically see them, but you'll put REM pods or other devices and you will like it's just so cool to see. But remember Kids Day. So once a month we have Kids Day because
mhm,
our place is so welcoming that
Yeah.
we want to welcome kids and teach them the proper ways. So
Right.
it was one Kids Day, and no joke, a little boy went in there into the yoga studio and just started running in circles. And we're like, "Well,
mhm,
what are you doing?" They were like, "I just felt the need to run around in circles."
mhm,
It was the coolest thing. I'm like,
mhm.
"That's awesome."
Yeah,
How
yeah.
neat is
Um,
that?
it was so cool. I don't know. I love Kids Days. But it's just such a unique place. I don't know how else to give you a spiel without seeing it. It was built as a
Right.
really ritzy, the Bells were a very prominent family. He was a state senator, had a butt ton of
Oh,
money,
wow.
an investor in natural gas. So he's the reason why Fort Wayne and even Chicago got natural gas when they did.
Mhm,
So they just had a ton of money to kind of show off, you know what I mean? And we're so grateful it was a funeral home for 93 years
mhm.
because they preserved
You
it.
took care of it.
They took
Absolutely.
great care of it, and that's why we're so adamant. How else do you keep a 15,000 square foot building? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's been the difficult part, you know what I mean? The overhead, but we're all so passionate about preserving this hidden gem. It really
Mhm.
truly is, and um, we're excited. I'm just excited. That's all
Yeah.
I can say is that just what keeps us going.
I know
Um,
that I want to go back there, but I want to bring people back there because it is such a
mhm,
unique place. We have a group here on the
mhm,
East Coast. I'd love for us to go
yeah,
and take a trip
mhm.
and spend time, with you all at the
Yes.
mansion because I think, well, if you ever been to, I don't know if you've ever been out this way, but we have Newport. And Newport is with all these, gilded mansions. It's not quite that gilded, but it's that same feel. You feel like it's
Mhm.
this different era that you walk in, and try to
Mhm.
imagine what it would have been like as a residence. It's just
It really is.
It's
unbelievable.
weird. I mean, Fort Wayne's not a major market like Chicago or New York or something like that.
Mhm.
But for people from all around the country to come into Fort Wayne and come into the Bell Mansion, they're like, wow, I haven't seen anything like this where I'm from and this or that. And we both kind of look at it like,
We're like,
really?
"What?"
I mean, we're just little Fort Wayne. I mean, Fort
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wayne's not little, but it's
Mhm.
compared to the major market cities, it is. But it's
It's just
just, the
cool.
Bells, they just, Robert, first was a corporate lawyer for the railroad. Then he got into politics. He was a two-term state senator. He was an
Mhm.
advocate for natural gas. And when he got
Mhm.
out of office, he started the Northern Indiana Gas and Light Company. And that's what brought him to Fort Wayne. And during
Mhm.
office, when he was in office, he pushed for natural gas to be pushed up north, all the way up to Chicago.
Mhm.
He had a lot to do with the World Fair in Chicago. He was a Civil War
Oh, yeah.
veteran.
Duh. How do I
Uh,
forget about that?
Oh,
yeah,
he
well,
was. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yes.
His wife Clara, she
What
was.
side? Union?
I would
He was
assume
I would assume so, but you never know.
You don't, I'll tell you a funny story. I was at Madison Seminary because that's not all that far from you, a couple of
Right.
hours north, right? I was at Madison Seminary, and there's a section that's Civil War side, and I was with someone who had one of those DR60 recorders, and
Mhm.
he asked, are you a Confederate or a Union? And clear as day, it said a Confederate.
That's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
That's
that's
so cool.
north of you, so who
Mhm.
knows, right?
Yeah, I've learned to not assume anything. Nothing. Nothing, because the
Like
minute you start assuming anything, yeah, you know what that happens.
you do.
It's just a cool and again, let me a little backstory.
Mhm.
I wasn't into any paranormal anything. I was a huge skeptic, grew up just
Mhm.
kind of how you had to fit in a box, and which was
Yeah.
fine. That was just my parents' generation and
Mhm.
how they were raised. And, I have amazing parents, don't get me
Excuse me.
wrong, but
I met them.
um,
They're very nice.
yes, and
Yeah.
it just they worked their tail off, and,
Yeah.
my dad had started another business venture. They were gonna make it like a bed and breakfast, and it didn't work out, and, my dad came to me and was like, "I'm just gonna sell it, I'm done." And I'm like, No, I can't." But a little more backstory than that, the people of the bed and breakfast wanted to advertise if it was a haunted bed and breakfast, and so they had reached out to friends of friends of friends of Nick's paranormal team, and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds kinda cool. Can I go check out what they're doing?" You know what I mean? And that's how I met Nick, and we've been together ever since, and just
Oh, so
learning.
that's how you 2
Yes,
connected. So that oh,
yes,
how cool is that?
Yeah.
yes.
So they were working on the Bell
Mhm.
with construction and this or that, and I had a mutual friend of Angie's parents,
Mhm,
and they asked if I could come in and investigate this place to see if it was haunted. Because if it
mhm,
was, they were going to advertise as a haunted bed and breakfast. I was like, absolutely.
mhm,
So the first day I ever walked in was December 19th, 2020.
mhm,
And which is almost coming up on 2 years now.
mhm.
Years.
And we investigated, and I was very intrigued. And I asked, if we could go back right after the first of the year. And I brought in another paranormal team locally. We investigated again, and then about a month later, we investigated again. And that pretty much that's all I thought I was ever going to get out of it. But I knew what they had, and I had people that I had invited. They call me back. They're like, "Bro, do you know what you have here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And I had
Mhm,
just met Angie. We weren't dating yet.
Right,
mhm,
right.
At that point, we started talking and dating, and
mhm.
we would sneak back and investigate
Yep.
at the Bell together on the weekends and stuff like that. And she was getting into it, and it wasn't till we came back to the house. I don't know what investigation it was. I
Mhm,
was like, babe, listen to this. Listen to this EVP clip. It's just me
mhm,
and you
mhm.
in this room. Listen to this clip. And she
Right.
listens to it, and she hears another man's voice, and she just looks at me. She's like, what the hell was that?
Mhm.
I said, that's an EVP.
Mhm.
That's a spirit.
I'm
That's
like,
Yeah.
somebody else in the
"What?"
room. You know, it was just me and you in this room.
Mhm.
And
Right.
that's when I got her hooked. She was like, oh my God. So I started taking her around to other more like famous haunted locations, and
Mhm.
we'd go and investigate, and she'd be like, well, this kind of sucked. Like nothing happened all night. Well, for me, being in the field for a long time, I
Yeah.
know that stuff happens.
Mhm.
You know, she was just expecting we'd walk in and it's just communication,
It's
communication,
not
Mhm.
like
communication.
TV.
Right. It's
Exactly.
not
No,
like
it's
TV.
not.
And I didn't know.
So, you know, I had her hooked, I had her convinced, and we started like, you know, poking and prodding at her dad,
Mhm.
like, hey, you know, and he, you know, good businessman that he is, he's like,
Mhm.
look, I have this deal with these people. We're gonna see what happens with it,
Mhm.
you know, and I don't know. We
It fell
at some
through.
point we gave up. We quit even going to the Bell Mansion. We quit talking about the Bell Mansion,
Really?
Yeah.
and we
Because this whole bed and breakfast thing was my dad was just kind of the
Yeah.
backer and the
Yeah.
other people were running it, and which he was honoring his word.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we all kind of had this inkling it was gonna fall through. But again,
so hold on. I'm just gonna say this, and I don't care who hears this. So the people that were involved to begin with that were going to run the bed and breakfast, again, her parents were the financial backers.
Mhm.
They invited us to come in and investigate this place to see if it was haunted, so they could advertise it as it.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Come to find out, a few months later, they're on social media blasting us
Oh, it was
and the
bad.
paranormal team talking about there's no spirits there, and
It was
what was it,
bad.
like shadow chasers, and they were just trashing us on social. I'm like, I don't understand. You invited us to come see. I gave you, for the first 100 hours of investigating, I had 350
Hi,
clips of
Liz.
evidence. You know,
It was
what
crazy.
what more do you want? I gave it to you, and then they turn around and act like they didn't want it. So that even aggravated us even more. And you know, it is what it is. And we got over it. We moved on, and we went to a lot of Cubs games, and we went camping, and
We did.
we just forgot about it. And
Mhm.
then one day her dad called Angie and was like, well, do you think this will work? And I'm like in the background, like, yes.
Mhm. But
Yeah.
just to be able to do so much positivity has
Mhm.
come. That's what I love is from our teammates to even myself. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I battle my own demons. We all battle our own demons, but like just even like our inner circle, we all have our struggles. And they say, like, I don't know what would have happened if I wouldn't be with you guys. You know, like dark places, you know, and I'm like, it just it's just cool, and getting to meet people and provide that safe place where you can tell your stories. You're not crazy. I'm bound and determined to break the stigma because I look back on my past life, like growing up, I never realized I was a huge empath. I don't know. I just knew I don't know, just felt things and I just didn't fully
Yeah.
understand it until this last 2 years.
Mhm.
And to be able to feel like I fit in and to feel like Liz goes, I can vouch for that firsthand. She is Liz. Hi, Liz. She's on our team as well. And it's, I don't know, I can't explain it. It's just awesome. Like, for instance, we had a young girl come in. Um, you could tell her family just didn't believe, and that's fine. I'm not here to change people's minds. I'm
Yeah.
just here to help you feel more like yourself and feel safe, you know? And she kind of grew up like that was she could see spirits, you know, and I'm sure Scott, you can relate to that. Like she could see them, but her circle around her just, you know, wasn't having it. And so she had to internalize all that
Mhm.
and to carry that through her entire life. And then she found us, and it was like this flower just blossomed.
Mhm.
It was so cool to see.
Mhm.
And, you know, she kept coming back and she kept coming back. And even these kids, like so many parents will be like, I've never seen my kid like get out of their shell like that. I'm like,
Mhm.
thank you. Like this is thank you. That's if that's all I accomplish or all we
I think
accomplish, I'm
I
done.
think being with the right people in the right setting will do that. I mean,
Mhm.
I kind of jokingly say I was a funeral director. I saw thousands of bodies and not one of them talked to me. And it's true
Mhm.
because it wasn't until I got out of that conservative um, industry where my hands were tied and I was forced to dress a certain way and
Mm,
belong to these organizations, but not these organizations. After I surrounded myself with people who had like interests and were welcoming, and
Mhm.
it
right.
started to happen. You start to open up a
Mhm.
little bit more, and that's when it started to happen
Really?
for me. So I see that. I mean, I can totally see how that would be
Mhm.
the case with you.
Did you experience that, like, growing up? I mean, have you been able to see spirits your whole life?
No, the weird thing is so I started working in the funeral home when I was 16. So I
Wow.
was very young. I started washing cars and mowing lawns and kind of just went up the ranks, and I only sold them in 2018. Although
Mhm.
I
Mm.
left the business, my brother was running it. I left in 2012 or something like that, 2011, 2012.
Mhm.
There was stuff. There was stuff. I can't say that I saw spirits because it's not like the sixth sense. I mean, it's a very different kind of thing when you see them.
Mhm.
But I definitely knew things. I was finding that I could manifest things very easily, and
Mm.
and sometimes I didn't want to manifest it, but I would think it, and then there it was. And I think it was just getting messages, but I wasn't sure I was getting. I didn't know I was getting messages. Like
Mhm.
as an example, this happened number of occasions. Geez, I haven't thought of Mary Smith in a long time.
Mhm.
Within an hour, you get a call that Mary Smith died.
Mhm.
And I think I was getting the message, but
Mm,
in hindsight, I think that. I did
Yeah.
not think that at the time, but it was people
Mhm.
would say, "Would you do me a favor and not think about me? Because every time you think about somebody, they."
Yeah.
But I wasn't really like that. I think there was a download of information. So, it
Mhm.
was probably there, but I was just dead to it. No pun intended.
Mhm.
You know?
But
And
that's
the funeral home was haunted. I mean, I don't know if I told you that. It was a brand
yeah.
mine was a brand new building I built from the ground up. There had been this massive home mansion that was there before, and it had burnt down maybe 100 years earlier in the late 1800s. And when we put in the foundation, there was we dug up all kinds of stuff like shoes and bottles and pans
Mhm.
and here I am sitting in my brand new building built from the ground up, and I can hear them walking up and down the stairs and across the ceiling, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"What in the world is this?" It was crazy. And at the time, I mean, I didn't even own a voice recorder. It just wasn't something I did back then. I wish I had.
Mhm.
I'd love to go back today, you
yeah.
know?
Mm. Like in a different mindset now. Like you said,
Different mindset,
you don't have those
completely.
restrictions anymore
I don't know.
or restrictions.
I'm kind of a firm believer that for some reason, some individuals, it doesn't matter what you do, the paranormal will draw you in. It'll just draw you in.
Mhm.
You can push it away, you can try to forget about it, but at some point in your life, it'll draw you in and you're going to be there.
Mhm.
And some people, it'll never happen to them, you know. For
Mhm.
what reason that is, that some people are more open than others, I don't know,
Mhm.
you know.
I just always felt like I could feel things on a whole different level, and I
Really.
still feel like that. I still feel like I'm on this journey of self-discovery. We all are, I guess. Work in progress every day.
And you
I
probably
just
still are. You're probably not there yet. I don't know if you ever
Mhm.
get there, if there's
Mhm.
an end game, I don't
Yeah,
know.
what is there?
Well, all I know is personally that she knows me better than I know myself.
Mm.
And most of the times it's good. Sometimes it's like, get out of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
well,
just pick up on again, you pick up on that energy. Just even today when he got home from work, I'm like, "What's wrong?"
And
He
I'm
didn't
like,
even have to
oh,
say anything.
you
nothing,
just
man.
know. You just know.
You just know, and I don't know. I don't know. I guess how did you develop and know you had your abilities? It just came to you?
Oh, my story. That's a whole different show, but I'll give you
Okay.
the expedited version of
Cliff
this.
notes.
One day, the Cliff Notes. One day, I was home. It was a Friday night, and woman that worked for me texted me and said, "Hey, somebody just stopped in to see you," and I told him you weren't working. It was Friday night, and he said, "Okay, just tell him David stopped by," and he left. And I said, "David, who? Did you get a phone number?" She said, "No, no, he just sounded like he knew you." I said, "I don't know anybody named David." So I went on the security camera and I looked, and sure enough, there was this guy walking in dressed in black, bald hair, asked for me, turned around and walked out. I'd never seen him before. I didn't know who he was. He never came back. He never called. I've never seen him since. I have no idea who this guy was. And it bothered me, not on a paranormal level. I wasn't thinking that at all. I just thought, who is this guy? And why does he know me and I don't know him? And who is he? You know what I mean? It was that
Right.
kind of a thing. So I had just bought a whole bunch of pieces because I wanted to build a spirit portal. You know, it was the guitar amp, with
Mhm.
the noise gate, the reverb, and the copper wire, all that stuff. So I put all that stuff together, and I was sitting at my house. My house is just, again, new. There's never anything going on in there. And I turned it on, and it said, "I want to talk to Scott." And I said, "This is Scott. Who's this?" "This is David." And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, well, that's kind of cool. You know, they know my name, right? So I was having dinner last night with Julie, my co-host, and a bunch of other people on our team. And I said, check this out. And she said, isn't that the name of the guy that walked in your business the other day? And I went, that's kind of coincidence, isn't it? After that, it was nonstop. They would talk to me, and not just, it isn't like you turn on a spirit box and you get messages. They were calling my name. If you go on my YouTube channel, The Paranormal Project, there's a video there. It was sort of a comical little video I did of some clips from an investigation. It was an old church rectory. And one of the guys said, do you know anybody's name here? And you can hear like 12 or 15 of them yelling, Scott, 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 Scott. I mean, it was like, this is nuts. And then I starting to know they were around me. And that's when I started to see them. And when I say see them, it's not like I see you. It's hard to explain that. But I could feel that they were here. I could tell how tall they were and wide. But then I could tell you what they were wearing, whether they were male, whether they were female, and that was getting weird. And I started to think, I have a spirit attachment. I've got to have a spirit attachment. This is from going in all these haunted places, and So I called this woman that I know. She's a medium, and I said, "Listen, I don't know what to do here. I mean, do you have any suggestions?" I didn't want to tell anybody. She's the only person I told because I figured, you know what, they're going to lock me up. If I tell them I'm hearing voices in my head, that's just not something you want to tell people. So she had an inkling what was going on, and she tested me without telling me she was testing me. And we kind of figured it out, and I still was a non-believer. I was like, there's no way. Where's it been my whole life? I get connected with another woman who's a medium and a healer and a shaman, and she confirmed it. And she said, you need to, we're going to set up some protection around you, and you need to go and just get those messages as you've been getting them and relay them to people and see. And I started doing that, and the next thing you know, it's like spot on. It was crazy. And I still get that. Where I am here, we had this full-blown conversation about 3 weeks ago because they just talked to me. And it's crazy. And now I can quote unquote see them and describe them and deliver messages from them. And it's not something I ever in a million years thought I would be doing, but it is the coolest thing. And I'm
That's
very
good.
fortunate because I think some people, I run this. I don't know if you know what a development circle is, but it's something that mediums usually get involved with. It's a practice circle with other mediums. Basically, that's what
Hmm,
Yeah.
it's saying. And
that's
I
cool.
run this every Sunday night. And some are beginners, and some have been doing it a long time, and some of them never really get beyond that first step. And for me to so quickly go to,
Mhm,
doing big gallery events in front of 60 people or more, and
mhm.
and doing private readings and running development circles, it's kind of like this fast track that I could not have anticipated.
That's
Right.
So,
awesome.
but it was more of a ghost story to begin with. That's how it started. It was a ghost story, and I thought I had an attachment or something. It was crazy.
Wow. Thank you for
Well,
sharing that.
I would think that I don't know, maybe if you concentrate and look back a little more throughout your life, there probably was a little bit more events. You just weren't open-minded to it.
Wasn't open-minded to it, and that's what I was saying before. I really believe that, Nick. I think there was definitely things there, but it was just I wasn't
Hmm.
I wasn't aware of it.
There was
And
just
it wasn't what I thought it would be. That
mm,
was the biggest problem. Like if you asked
Mm.
me 20 years ago, what's it like to be a medium? Well, I don't know, but this is what I would have told you. If you go to the grocery store, you're going to see 7 or 8 dead people in the cereal aisle, and you're going to say, "Excuse me, dead sir, would you please move so I can get the Cheerios?" I mean, that's what I thought it was going to be like. It is not
right.
like that
Mhm.
at all. That's the Hollywood version,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just
Mm.
not. So when you don't know what you're looking for, you miss it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we have people come in all the time, and they're skeptics, and I'm like, okay, that's great. I mean, it's no
Mhm.
different than, you know, people's different religious beliefs,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Are you going to prove to me that there's ghosts?" And I said, "No."
No.
I said, "But I'm gonna." I look at it as like maybe if I can convince you to just open your mind to the possibility to it,
Mhm.
and that's it. That's all I can do for you.
Mhm.
Until you have that experience that you can physically or emotionally or mentally cannot explain,
Mhm.
you're not going to believe.
No.
Mhm.
And because some people will explain it in any number of ways.
Yeah.
They just will because they can't. Their mind doesn't work that way.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what goes on at the mansion. What happens like activity wise?
Go ahead, love.
I get my ass pinched all the time. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I forgot we're live. I'm used to a podcast. I have a podcast, so we can say whatever we
You edit that stuff out. You can say whatever you want here too. It's not a problem.
want. What was see? I
This is a
mean,
PG-13 rated podcast, so you're good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've pretty much. I mean, I've seen full body apparitions there. I've seen full body shadow
Really?
figures there. I've seen black mist, white mist. I've
Wow.
seen. I've heard footsteps. I've witnessed doors move. We've heard doors slamming. Um, I've been touched. Numerous people have been touched.
Mhm. Poor
Equipment
family.
goes crazy. I mean, the first few times investigating there, I thought all my equipment was broken because
Wow.
I've never gone to a location where the equipment just went haywire all the time. And I'm like, it's
Mhm.
broke. It's broke. I've got to send it back. And I was upset. And I'm like, I see you spend all this money on this stuff. And it's like,
Mhm.
It's not
you're
working.
changing batteries constantly. And it's like, for instance, okay, in the embalming room, where the white table is, it was kind of in a different spot, but we put one of the red REM pods on there, and like every 90 to 120 seconds, it would chirp a pretty solid green, you
Mhm.
know. And I'm like, and then after a while, we start timing it, and I'm like, oh, well, it must be some interference coming through the building. And I said, well, still kind of odd because it's wrapped in limestone, but you never know. It's got to be that. And I was going to walk out of the room, and I turned around and I said, can you just light it up blue for me? And it went blue, just blue, like that, instantly. And I looked at the time, my sister and everybody else in the room, and I'm like, that's the most intelligent response I've ever gotten on a REM pod.
There
Mhm.
was a lot
It,
of activity in there when we were there. REM
and
pods were just going crazy.
So, I mean, the whole theory of interference just kind of went out the
Yeah.
window there. I mean, you could do that practically all over the building. You start getting interaction with it. You just say, hey, well, just show me yellow. Can you show me
Right.
yellow? Okay, well, we're gonna make yellow yes and blue no. Okay, or who are you? What's this? I mean, are you a male? Yes or no? Being, it's just crazy. I mean,
Yes. Disembodied voices.
disembodied voices.
Really.
Smells. I smell a perfume, like randomly, even the other
Yeah.
day.
Perfume, cigar smoke, pipe smoke.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got pipe, I think, on the 3rd floor in that
Mhm.
when you come up the stairs, you go left and it was on the right. That room on the right
Yes.
table is
The smoke room.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was pipe smoke in there.
It's crazy.
Like I was in the basement one time. We were unloading her car. I think we went to Walmart, got a bunch of toilet paper and paper towels and snacks and water. So from the garage to the nerve center, we just went to the basement that way. And I come walking through and I stopped because the smell of pipe tobacco was so strong. I literally thought somebody was in the basement smoking a pipe.
No kidding.
And,
He was like looking around. I'm
like
"No,
the
it's
3rd
okay."
floor, if it's summertime and it's warm, there's so much wood up there. It's 130 years old. It's
Mhm.
going to release some of that cigar and pipe smoke, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But in the basement, it was a little different. I was like, wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it was not warm when I was there. We froze. It snowed.
It has not snowed
Still
since you guys
happy
left.
about that, let me tell you.
It has not snowed at all since then. And what? It's
No.
been about a month ago.
Yeah, it's been about a month. I couldn't believe it.
We got what, like 3 or 4 or 5 inches, maybe? It was
I don't
sick.
It just kept going for like 2 days. It was crazy.
That's fine. That's cool.
I have to tell you, Fort Wayne was not at all what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
You hear of Fort Wayne being kind of, I thought it was a cow pasture. I really did. I had no concept whatsoever. It's not. It was, I mean, there's some stuff going on there. I mean, it's not like you say, it's not Chicago, but it was okay. I just really thought like, well, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna eat? Where are we,
Right.
you have
There's a truck
restaurants.
stop near
Yeah.
here.
Great little Mexican restaurant right up the street. That was a nice tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place was good.
I'm proud of Fort Wayne. The last 10 years or so, they've really I'm born and raised here. So like at
You
first
are.
when they started doing like baseball stadiums and stuff, I'm like, y'all are nuts. Nobody goes downtown. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But it is, and the
They're
cost of
building it
living is
out.
good too, and it's I'm proud. I'm proud to say,
It's a medium market city. We got
Yeah.
about almost 400,000 people
Okay.
in the metropolitan area, so
mhm,
it's growing. It's one of
it is.
the hottest real estate marketplaces in the country.
No
Mhm.
I
kidding.
don't know if that's a good
Yep.
or bad thing right now,
Yeah.
but it's good for my business being in the flooring business.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Um,
Really is. It
and,
really
and as
is.
far as paranormal wise, I mean, Indiana has a rich history of haunted locations, famous haunted locations, but Northeast Indiana, where we're at, it was so conservative, and there's not a place in Fort Wayne that you could go all year round to investigate. Any team from Fort Wayne, they're always leaving Fort Wayne to go investigate, unless you got a residential case.
Right.
So we've kind of broke the stigma or the mold here in Fort Wayne. In that aspect, is opening a paranormal place you can go all year round. Now the flip side of it was we're taking an historical landmark in Fort Wayne to a place that it's not very open-minded to the paranormal, and we're going to do the paranormal,
Mhm.
and we're going to see what happens. And
Good.
the news stations, the
Mhm.
newspaper, social media, the people in Fort Wayne have opened up their arms to us.
Mhm.
Oh,
I
that's
mean, and
great.
it's shocking, and
Mhm.
it's amazing.
It's been awesome. Like for instance, like I said, we do our weekly Wednesday, 7 to 11. We have like 4 people coming up from Indy, which is about 2 hours south, just
Yeah.
to come do our Wednesday thing. I'm like, that's awesome.
Oh,
Cool. We got an Airbnb and there. I'm like, good for you. Cool. It's
So
just
we have like Chanel just told us we got about 5 minutes left.
okay.
Okay.
That's it's the fastest hour we've had.
That's awesome.
But I want to just give people a chance to find out, like, how can they find out about you? So the website for the mansion is it
Thebellmansion.com.
thebellmansion.com?
Yes. And then the Bell Mansion LLC on Facebook. Nick and I are not tech savvy by any means, but again, our amazing family. Ricky is working on the TikTok. We all kind of chime in on Instagram, and then Old World Paranormal Society, which is the team that he started. Yeah, we all just mostly the website and Facebook, and then we're trying to start our TikTok. But mostly Facebook and our website.
Do you do private investigations with teams?
Yes. Yes.
So
and
how does somebody book that? They would call you and speak with you directly.
We're working on that too. Like what open dates and stuff we have. It's all a work in progress. We don't know what we don't know. But no, you can text and call me. Telephone numbers on the website, thebellmansion.com. We want to work with people. We don't want to gong you, and we're not out to make millions of dollars. We just want to keep this gorgeous building in one piece. We want to work with people. Saturdays we're pretty obviously booked out for a long time, and that is more expensive. But again, during the week, I don't mind cutting people deals, especially if there's only a couple people coming.
There's no set prices.
Really
there's really not. I mean,
there is, but there's not. Now Saturdays are 800 for the Saturdays, but 12 hours, you get the whole entire mansion to yourselves. Fully heat, full AC, bathrooms, snacks, coffee, the nerve center, microwave, whatever.
No, we'll even let you use our equipment if you don't have equipment. We don't,
we do that.
We'll give you a tour and and the whole 9 yards.
And weekdays, Fridays go about around 500-600. During the week, Sunday through Thursday, gosh, $300-400. We don't care.
That's so reasonable, really. When you think about, heating a place like that and air conditioning, honestly, I don't know how you do it.
It's an old boiler system still, and it still runs off that. I think our heat last month was like, well, not this last month, but it was the height last year was like $1,100 just for the heat. So
at 65 degrees.
Yes. So again, we're not out to make millions. We just want to share this awesome place with people. We want to share it.
It's so great because it is such just a special place.
It really is.
And
it really is.
Next year, if you'd like to come here and have your wedding, and stuff like that, we can do that too.
We will be a full-fledged event center. I don't know a date yet. We're still waiting on construction. Obviously, we have to add a bathroom and some stuff, but working on our beer and wine permit. But we'll be able to do anything. Right now, we can do anything. We just can't have alcohol. But anything from birthdays, corporate parties. We've had a couple Sweet 16 birthday parties already. We've had a baby shower already. I'm like, that's awesome.
2 weddings so far. I mean,
do you think the paranormal and that one will hurt each other, or do you think they'll just kind of work well together?
I really believe
we'll make it work.
Yeah, we always do. I think the paranormal got us through these 10 or 11 months that we had to wait for getting our full-fledged event center stuff all in line. But I think I look at it like we're just out to preserve and save this gorgeous building, however that looks for you. I don't care. I'm not here to tell you what to believe in.
Right.
But if you want to come take a history tour, cool. If you want to come have your baby shower here, cool. If you want to come book a private investigation with your team, awesome. Like, as long as you're not hurting yourself or the building, we don't care.
Angie and Nick, we have come to the end of the show. I'm so grateful that so great. Next week, we're talking with Maria from Mysterious Adventures Tours, talking about all her trips she's got planned. Please visit the Bell Mansion. And thank you, my friends. I'm really so happy you were here. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
You have been listening to The Paranormal Project with Scott Allen and Julie Finn. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. While you're there, leave us a rating and review so others can find out about the show. Stay haunted and go out there and explore the paranormal.